Dr. Elira Venn was never meant to receive the letter, yet it arrived exactly as if it had been waiting for her existence to become relevant. No address, no origin, only wax that shifted like it was alive, refusing to settle into any recognizable seal. The message was simple, almost polite in a disturbing way, as if the sender already knew she would obey. Beneath the old National Archive, something had been sealed that did not belong to recorded history. Elira descended with Noah Calder, a man who catalogued forgotten truths as though they were harmless mistakes, though his hands trembled the deeper they went. The elevator did not creak, did not shake, it simply descended through impossible silence, like the world above had decided to stop acknowledging them. When the doors opened, there was no dust, no decay, no sense of time at all. Only a waiting stillness, as if the underground had been holding its breath for centuries, expecting their arrival without surprise. The chamber was not a room in any natural sense. It stretched too far in directions that should have collapsed under their own geometry. Shelves rose and curved like they were growing instead of built, and books sat embedded in them like organs inside a living structure. Sable Mora joined them without hesitation, as if she had already read the invitation before it existed. Her presence changed nothing, yet the air felt slightly more aware, as if it had gained another witness to fear. The books had no titles, no bindings that made sense. Noah touched one, and the moment he did, the air filled with faint echoes of events that had never been lived. Not voices exactly, more like memories trying to happen without permission. Elira felt a strange pressure behind her thoughts, like something was trying to insert itself into her understanding of reality, and Sable whispered something she immediately regretted speaking aloud. The room, she said, was not storing history. It was correcting it. At the center stood a bell made of cracked bronze, far too heavy for its thin pedestal. It did not belong in the room, yet the room seemed built around its refusal to move. An inscription pressed into its base responded not to language, but to attention. The meaning formed inside Sable's mind without translation, as if the thought had always been waiting there. Do not let it remember you. Noah reached for it without understanding why. His fingers brushed the surface, and the bell rang. But there was no sound. Instead, everything around them forgot its own structure for a fraction of a second. Shelves shifted positions. Distances changed without movement. Elira felt her identity hesitate, like her name was being reconsidered by something larger than memory. The silence that followed was not absence. It was acknowledgement. Something had noticed them properly for the first time. After the bell, the archive changed its behavior. Subtle at first. Words on pages shifting when no one looked directly at them. Shadows lagging behind objects like delayed decisions. Then the mistakes became intelligent. The unwritten did not appear in any stable form. It existed in the space where attention failed, where perception could not fully commit. Every attempt to describe it caused the mind to lose part of the description forever. Noah began to forget simple things, why he entered a room, what he was holding, but the gaps filled themselves with information he had never learned. Sable's language began collapsing mid-sentence, replaced by meanings she could not recognize yet still understood too well. Elira realized the truth slowly, with increasing dread. This place did not preserve history. It was rewriting reality every time someone understood it incorrectly. And understanding was unavoidable. The deeper they moved, the less distance meant anything. Corridors bent back into themselves with slight variations, like repeated memories that could not decide how they happened. Sometimes they saw themselves ahead, walking in silence, only to vanish when approached. Time here was not moving. It was being reorganized. Sable found records labeled with dates that had not yet occurred, pages already filled as if the future was just another archived mistake. Noah read fragments of events they had not lived yet, each sentence finishing itself the moment he tried to comprehend it. Elira felt something worse than fear. She felt that they were not exploring the archive. They were being sorted by it. And the filing system did not care if they remained intact. The whispers grew sharper, no longer passive echoes but structured resistance. When Sable tried to interpret them, the language reacted like a living defense system. Every attempt at translation removed something from her mind. Words disappeared first. Then meanings. Then certainty. Noah's memory began collapsing in layers. Not painfully, but cleanly, as if erased by an administrator who understood exactly what to remove. Elira noticed that even fear was becoming harder to hold onto consistently. The archive was not attacking them physically. It was removing the possibility of them fully existing in their own understanding. And the worst part was the realization that it was working. They returned to the bell because it was the only thing that had ever clearly responded to them. Sable believed it was not an object but a mechanism, a way the archive edited itself. When Elira touched it again, reality did not break. It corrected itself backwards. The corridors reassembled into different arrangements. Their positions in space shifted without movement. Noah looked at Elira and hesitated, as if her identity had not fully loaded yet. The unwritten moved closer, not physically, but perceptually. It was no longer between moments. It was inside them. Every hesitation of thought now belonged to it. Sable wrote the final warning on her skin because paper no longer trusted ink. The message was unstable, fading even as she formed it. Do not let it finish the sentence. But sentences no longer behaved normally. Thoughts dissolved before completion. Names lost continuity. Even Elira struggled to remember why escaping mattered, only that forgetting was accelerating. The archive did not close. It simply stopped needing them to understand it. Above ground, nothing was ever officially discovered. The building remained normal, its records intact, its history uninterrupted. But in quiet moments, in places where information gathers dust, people sometimes notice gaps in the records that feel deliberate, and occasionally, when silence becomes too organized, there is a sound like a bell that does not exist, waiting for someone to remember it correctly enough to continue.